Also attending are Judy Glover, our Vice President, and Dan Evans, the Treasurer, and Larry May, the Secretary, and Danny Matthews, the Director at Large. The quorum has been met, and Larry May will be the recording secretary tonight. Welcome, everyone. This is a Zoom meeting, so please remain as quiet as possible so everyone is able to hear the proceedings. The first item of business is to ratify approval of the minutes for the board January 19 and February 16 board meetings. Board, are there any corrections to the minutes? No.
No.
Then the minutes are approved. The next item of business is the approval and ratification of actions of the board. Is there a motion to approve the board actions?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second that.
Opposed? No. The actions are approved. The next item of business is the reading of the president's report. You find it. We are at the halfway point for the year term for the current board of directors. Are we having fun yet?
Yeah.
Seriously. I want to address and thank my 4 colleagues. You work very hard and you do a great job. And I enjoy working with every one of you. If we aren't meeting face to face or doing our road trips together throughout the community, we're working on email. Thanks to each one of you for our success and hard work in our community. After reviewing the code, the goals and objectives that the current board established this year for themselves and our committees, we have made some real progress. We have encouraged community involvement and communication. For instance, we've established a new committee. We have new volunteers on many committees. We have regularly scheduled board meetings. We've had 1 community town hall, and we've got another one on the calendar. With the board and committees working together as well as we have, amenities have been prepared and improved. For example, the boat ramp repairs, volunteers repaired the water park deck and walkway, and very recently, volunteers replaced the top of the wood cap of the seawall. Thank you, Bob and Scott. The interior of the clubhouse has been spruced up. The perimeters of the ponds have gotten some attention recently, and their maintenance is almost complete. And the repairs at the pool were completed. Lastly, we have a new 20-year reserve study, a tool that helps us to anticipate maintenance for our reserve assets and recommends how to plan for adequately funding the reserves for the short and long term. There's plenty of work left to achieve for the rest. There's plenty of work left to achieve for the rest of the goals and objectives in the remaining half of this board's term. There's been much discussion and planning already, and there will be more discussion before plans are approved and we move forward. These are hefty goals: revamping and institutionalizing the nomination committee and the board election process, phased repairs of our stormwater and culvert systems, and phased road repairs. In addition to the day-to-day business of running the community, here is what's been going on since our January board meeting. We've recompeted the HOA auditor who does our tax returns too. And we've awarded that contract to another firm. Reviewed competing pool company contracts to ensure we're paying a fair price for our services under our current contract. We are continuing our policy for aggressive oversight on HOA delinquencies. We've conducted many meetings and discussions about our path to reducing spending. Dan will discuss some of our strategies. and successes and progress later in the evening. One success is the recent transfer of $23,000 of unspent 2022 operating funds to the reserves. Oyster Harbour and Waccamaw financial processes and reports. Recently, the board met with Waccamaw staff and we had a fantastic meeting. As a result, we have confidence in our Waccamaw partners dealing with finances. We will be more effective now from this meeting and be better stewards of our HOA funds and have access to better tools for tracking expenses. We've worked on a new fishing policy, which will be effective May 1st. The board looked at every aspect of this to ensure we deliberated about all business and resident interests and concerns. Danny will present the new fishing policy later during the meeting. Lastly, a reminder, our community manager from Waccamaw Management will be conducting 2 compliance runs through the community every month. Be sure to follow the HO rules and guidance and keep your property neat and tidy. All community policies and rules are on the Oyster Harbour website. If you don't have a login account, please go online and create one to keep yourself informed. Thank you. Okay, where are we? The next item is the reading of the treasurer's report.
This is as of January 31st, 2023. There wasn't much to report because there wasn't much money spent because we didn't get billed for much. But I'm going to give you the net of what we have. The total operating cash right now is we have $246,633. The ARC total is $138,530. The total assets then off the operating balance sheet is $385,163. The reserve as of January 31st, we have $1,194,466 in our reserve. In January, we received our 2023 contribution, and that contribution was $262,589. That's baked into that 1.1 million I just quoted you. As far as operating is concerned, we spent $12,600 in pool, clubhouse, landscaping, and facility items. We spent $10,700 in administrative, and in operating, which was utility, security, and reserves. It was a $263,200 number. That's because that $262,000 reserve item is included in that number. So through January, we spent out of operating $286,496. Sounds like a lot of money, but the $262,000 is for reserves. So back that out to look at really what we spent for expenses in January. We had no transactions in the reserve coming out of the reserve account in January. We have $54,262 total delinquency. Of that, we have 7 accounts that are in liens, and we have 2 accounts that are in foreclosure. The total value of those 2 are $36,000. So of the $54,000, $36,000 are either in lien or foreclosed or in foreclosure. Thank you.
The committee reports will be read next. I'll read the ABC POA. Larry and I are representatives on that county group. The group meets every month, and Larry, pop in. I didn't go to the last meeting, so you pop in if you want to speak about that. Some of the ongoing projects of that organization, they are following the offshore wind, which is a complex issue that is more than just wind turbines, inland structures, and lines to transfer power. The ABC POA rep for our organization, Larry and I, and the ABC as a whole, is going to continue to monitor discussions about offshore wind. The Transportation Committee of the ABCPOA has announced an environmental study for South Carolina 31. That's the bypass that we'll use for storms and things. And there will be a public hearing late summer or early fall. North Carolina 211, Southport 211, is 20% completed and projected to be completed by March of 2027. It's $8 million over budget. After January 23rd, land use presentation, the planning director for the county created a little bit of chatter among the ABCPOA. Most of the communities are not happy with all of the development going on in the county. So a focus group is being established, and they're going to monitor the excessive planning and development in the county. I don't know that they'll have any effect on that because it's just build, build, build. There's a new ad hoc committee to review the Uniform Development Ordinance, the UDO. That's a very important ordinance that determines the land use and overall development plan for the county. This committee will review significant sections of the plan related to the development study. They will evaluate and make recommendations to the county planning board. And that committee is looking for some participation on the ABCPOA. Things that have been completed since the last ABCPOA board meeting, they finally had an increase in their participation. You may remember that I was telling you that people weren't coming to the meetings. They couldn't even have their annual meeting and elect their new board. They elected their new board. And as I mentioned before, they had a presentation by the county planning director, Christy Dixon, about the public land use plan. That's all I have on that. The next committee is the ARC, and I think Mike is going to give that.
Camera work like that. I'm Mike George. I'm the left line guy. I'll let you a little bit. Not unless you have problems with long-sighted I am. I tried to do that, but you said no. I'm looking at everything. It's a union guy. Well, currently we have 31 homes in various stages of construction in the community. We had the issue of stop work orders and one of the houses that was being built, put on 12-inch eaves. And he was very good about fixing it, took them all down, put them part of the roof and did everything, so that was good. I want to just relay something to the board and to the people here is we recently raised our dues, well, not the dues, the fee you pay in to secure it, so make sure you don't screw up, from $3,500 to $4,500. I was talking to a builder and he said, that's interesting that you did that. He said, but I'll tell you, if you have put 4 bricks, 4 cinder blocks with a 30-inch foundation, he says, if I only do 3, it's 24 inches, which is against your rules. He says, but that saves me $6,000. He said, so you charge me $4,500. He said, I'm still ahead of the game. So it's just something to keep in mind for when we look at, I mean, this is returnable money if they do everything right. We're not taking their money. But we've had a few that, like I said, with this last one, and you know, once the house is built, you're not really going to tell the guy, okay, you got to tear down your roof and redo it. So we got to check on that stuff. But just something for you all to keep in mind when we look at the fee structure is that these guys aren't idiots that are building stuff, and you know, they look, oh yeah, well I can do that, and I'm ahead of the game. So that's where we are right now. We've also had we've done 2 final inspections on 2 houses. We're waiting for 2 more to come through. We've met with the technology committee about going paperless, because if you look at the ARC files, each file is this thick with plans and stuff. And it'd be good to eventually get that all, we get everything digitally and then we make them print it. So actually the builders would be happy also to, you know, not have to print everything, save them money, and it's easier for us. And during the past 60 days, we conducted, well, we have 31 builds. We conducted 31 lot walks where we check to make sure that they're not taking out every tree and everything else, and make sure they're under compliance. We've been moving a lot of houses back. A lot of the builders now, they're building spec homes. So to save money, they put them close to the street because it saves them on concrete for the driveway. Well, we've been pushing them back, and we're getting a little pushback from some of them, but tell them, you know, don't have to build here, basically. Les is a lot more diplomatic than I, so he usually talks to them. But we also approved roof replacements. There's been a lot of requests for dead tree removal, and I want to pick on one of these things also. There's a guy, Clemens, who claims to be an arborist, and he tells everybody their root balls are dead on their live oaks. Oh, this tree's going to die. You got to take it down. Now, I don't know how you tell root balls dead. I'm not an arborist, and neither is he. But you know, do you shake the tree? I don't know what you do, but the tree has leaves on it. You're not taking it down just because he told you it had a. So we've been getting a little pushback on him too, because he comes and tells I'm an arborist, and there is a website you can check, and he's not on it. There's 2 in the county. Yeah. So. And he's not on it, correct? And we also did a retractable awning and 2 generators. Been requested to be put in, and lawn ornament of some type of outdoor bird sculpture, whatever that is. I don't know. But, so, anybody have any questions? All right, I'm done.
Thank you. Boats and docks.
Okay. I am going as the liaison. I'm going to read the report for boats and docks. It's not really fair. Bruce is in the Bahamas. He called me from the airport. He gets no sympathy at all. So the current activities and projects for boats and docks are the staining and sealing of synthetic surfaces on the walkways, gazebo deck and floating docks. Install additional bumper rails to the floating dock. 40% of that has been completed. Everything is here for the rest of that completion. It's printed on here about enlarging the boat storage area. I think we're going to address that later. And the replaced wooden caps on the seawall, again, Donna said it, I echo it again. Bob, you and Scott, great job. Pulled in there Saturday, decided to heck with this and fixed it. So that is done. They did a great job with that. Completed 2023 boat storage registration. That is 100% complete, I think, Bob, is that correct?
Except for the one when the gentleman, his father passed away, we gave him a little fund.
Understood.
We're good.
Understood. Completed new boat ramp usage registration. We're still looking at just to catch everyone up. This is a whole new endeavor for Oyster Harbour. And to explain that endeavor is that we are now going to have a permission decal and a number of every user that runs in that ramp. If you've got a boat and you plan to put it in on that ramp, you must have it registered with the HOA, and the HOA will furnish you a sticker which identifies your trailer as having permission to use the ramp. Before, that was just who came down the road, got in the gate, put it in. Now, if you back that trailer in, you got to have a sticker on it, and you have to have your boat registered. Whether it's a larger boat or a jet ski, they all still have to be registered through the HOA. Activities planned to start within the next 6 months. Again, some more of the staining and sealing synthetic surfaces and the gazebos and the walkways. Mainly, we're talking about those are down at the old kayak dock. and complete installation of the bumper rail floating dock. Continue to monitor the status of the boat ramp. There are currently no budget issues. The reserve budget issues are none. And the committee purpose for membership and changes, nothing noted.
May I add just one sentence?
You sure can.
I believe at the end of the registration, we are not gonna have anybody on the waiting list for boat storage. I think we're gonna be 100% full, but I don't think we're gonna have anybody on the waiting list. Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Rick.
Can I make a comment? If you don't have a sticker to launch your boat it out program, if a guest comes in, we have a form that a guest must fill out 24 hours before you use our program. Otherwise, the guest cannot use our program.
I would encourage everyone to know that all these new policies are on the website. Everything is available. If you have a guest coming in, all they have to do is apply through you, the owner. They cannot do it online. They have to have it done by you to be a guest.
Thank you.
The government governing documents do reflect that a guest that uses amenities must be an overnight guest. So it's not some friend down the road.
I have a question, or should I wait till the end of the meeting?
The end of the meeting.
Please, if you would.
Okay. The clubhouse committee, Carl is not here.
I will read
Okay.
the report. Clubhouse renovations. The committee last met on January 17th, 2023. Activities, projects completed since last report to board. A list of items was compiled of furniture, furnishings, and artwork that the committee feels is no longer needed. A request was submitted to the board to sell by silent auction to association members, online marketing, or consignment. Items were dispensed. Items not disposed by these efforts will be donated. Carla met with the board and presented this request and answered questions. If approved, the committee will proceed with this plan. I believe the board did approve the auction. So that's been approved, so you can proceed on with that. Funds collected would be used for the purchase of artwork, fabric, and furnishings, subject to board approval. The 2 new love seats were delivered and are in place. The 2 rattan chairs were reupholstered and moved to the main room.
Thank you for the modeling.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kim will provide quotes for repairing of certain furniture items. Kim Shope. Activities projects planned to start within the next 6 months. The kitchen and storage area expansion portion of our project has been suspended until the board directs the committee to resume. Budget issues, none. Committee membership changes, none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to catch up, and I made the comment when I was reading the boats and docks report, the boat expansion 2 has been put on hold. That conversation of expanding that is to be determined at another date, but will not be happening now.
Thank you. Facilities Planning Committee, Dave, you have to walk up.
Communications.
Oh, yes, they are. Thank you.
Set them out of way. Mine's it's up there to follow us. Okay, Communications Committee report. Web updates in February were 8, 21 year to date. We added 3 new users in February, 10 year to date. Sent out 10 MailChimp messages in February, 23 year to date. 0 Pearl issues, 0 year to date. That's about to change. We did 0 Zoom meetings in February and 1 year to date. That was the town hall. Projects completed since last report. Added a list of committees and their liaisons to the website. So there's one place you can look and find out who your liaison is. Created a prototype replacement for the Oyster Harbor calendar that is live on the website. It's up to date with the existing calendar, and you can take a look at it and see how it differs. It will soon be replacing the calendar that's there now. Began work on Oyster Pearl with a new committee whose members are targeting April 1st for the next issue. Chris Duva is serving as our editor-in-chief. Candy Swift is an editor. Barry August is our roving reporter. We began testing website improvements from Awesome Website Guys, making some of the changes we asked for. Began looking into Oyster Harbor's data and network infrastructure to document and consult on improvements, things like the cameras and gate access. We're working with other committees, the ARC, Safety and Preparedness, on their data and communication requirements. And we created an event survey for the social committee that most of you have responded to. Activities planned within the next 6 months. We're going to explore email and document management solutions for the board and committee chairs. And we're going to review the website and MailChimp access lists. Budget issues are none. Committee members, the ones I mentioned, Candy and Barry, have been added, and none planned for now. Thank you. Question?
Facilities planning. Keep me straight.
Okay, we're coming through a very busy period. Current ongoing activities, we are in the process of updating the reserve listing for 2023, which means that we have to roll forward 2022's listing. Also, we're reviewing feedback from the committee chairs regarding proposed reserve expenditures for 2023. Although pretty much most of that has been done and already discussed with the board. Activities projects completed since last report. The outside engineer completed the review of the HOA amenities and provided a final report. That final report has been included in our website, I believe. So anybody who wants to read it, all 50-something pages of it is welcome. We also conducted a town hall meeting on February 1st to review the results of the reserve study and details of the reserve listing. Bert, is that on the website too, the meeting? Okay, so if you want to go back and review that, you can. Activities projects planned to start within the next 6 months. The FPC will review the proposed reserve expenditures for 2023 with the board. To some degree, we've already done that. And the updated reserve listing, we're probably going to be doing that next month. So by the middle of April or so, we should be ready to go for 2023. Committee changes, none at this time. Thank you.
Your group's done a lot of work with us the last couple of months. The next report, landscaping.
I'm Lauren, and I'm on the landscaping committee with my husband. TLC is our landscaping company, and they're meeting all of their contract requirements at this time. They've been working on leaf cleanup. They've been working around the ponds, probably seen them going out there. They've cut down all the trees and removed wax myrtles and the dog kennel. So they're looking much better, much more cleaned up. If they're not finished with it yet, they'll be finished with it shortly. They're supposed to have all the edging of all the roads completed by the end of March. And that's looking much neater and better. They've just been working on general cleanup and maintenance, a lot of leaves. Leaves never quit falling, so they keep working on the leaves. They're gonna be working on trimming, spring trimming of the hedges and the bushes, especially around the front of the community. They're gonna remove some low-hanging limbs around the clubhouse, work on weed control, and I think that's about it. And there are no budget issues and no membership changes.
Member orientation.
Hi, I'm Judy George and I'm here instead of Mary Ann Iden. All was quiet for the last couple of months since our last event, but we had our first meeting of the year on March 14th in preparation for our next member welcome event, which is going to be held on April 25th of this year. All new members, homeowners, lot owners, new builds and resales are going to be invited to the next event. So right now we have 39 on the invitation list. We'll see what happens. In preparation, we are going to update our agenda, notify our guest speakers, update all the information in the welcome packet that we give to the new members. So on the 27th, Bert's going to email the letter of invitation for us, and those email addresses we don't have, we're going to send through US mail and hopefully get a response from those people. We are going to discuss our survey that was given out and return the evening of the last member welcome event and just some of our evening plans and follow-up information with new people once they move in as per their request, but we haven't discussed what we're going to do with that yet. And we are also going to discuss a way to help new members through the orientation process with an ongoing neighbor-to-neighbor availability of a committee member in case they have questions and so we can point them in the right direction. We've had no additions to our committee this year and our budget is A-OK. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim McGowan, Chairperson for Ponds and Fountains Committee. We're in the midst of a project to cover exposed areas of the pond liners with riprap. This is not the part of the liner that's in the pond. This is the pond. This is the part of the liner that is on the bank surrounding some of the ponds. So we're almost complete that. One pond, Palmetto, is not finished. It needs a little bit more riprap. One of the fountain motors in Palmetto Fountain quit working a while back, a couple weeks ago. We're in the process of having Total Lake Care order a new motor and install it as soon as possible. And just FYI, that fountain motor was 9 years old. Some of the projects we've completed since the last report to the board, all of the fountain and fountain light timers have been adjusted for daylight savings time. The fountain lights will now come on at 7:30 p.m. instead of 5:30. Ibis Pond had a small, what we refer to as a whaling issue, which is, in this particular case, sediment had gotten underneath the liner in part of the pond, and when the water was down a little bit at a lower level, you could see the whale. So we had Total Lake Care make the necessary repairs to that, which entailed making a cut in the liner, excavating the sediment out from underneath the liner, and then sealing it up with the proper materials. And I looked at it on the way down here and it looks good, the water level. They also, by the way, repaired a couple other small areas and did not charge us for them. Now, they wasn't major areas, but it was just like cracks in the liner because these liners are, Dan, what are they, 23 to 25 years old, something like that, the pond liners. So they made some, they fixed some cracks in it. So, and they didn't charge us for it, which is a good thing. I think that's about it. That's all I have. Thank you.
The exposed pond liners was an issue in our reserve study, as some of you may know. And they will affect the useful life of those liners. So we took the advice of the engineer that did the reserve study and finally took care of that. It's been a problem for several years, and it is unsightly. Safety and preparedness.
Through here for safety. Okay, we are I believe, the newest committee on the block. We thank the board for, I'm sorry, step back. Oh, step back. Too loud. It's my university professor days. Okay. We thank the board for forming us because there is definitely a need for safety, hurricane, and disaster preparedness in any community of this type. Just a quick note about the membership that the board put on the committee. I've counted up some of the experience, and there is well over 200 years of experience in EOCs, EMTs, EMS, disaster preparedness on the committee. So
Pick the right people.
we got the right people. Current things we're doing, we are working on a disaster response plan, and we pretty much have that done. Hopefully we'll have the final edits done this coming meeting, which is Monday. We're coordinating with other communities, including Bert, for communication, and there is nothing more important in a disaster than communication. So we are researching some grants, and right now they are in the very preliminary stage, just getting information. We have policies regarding, we've looked up policies regarding state and local laws as they refer to things that we're doing. And we are coordinating with your ABCPOA, right? We have the names and numbers of folks in nearby associations and doing some preliminary communication with them. So working on an incident reporting form that will become standardized, assuming the board's approval. And that way, if there is something that occurs, then there will be a way of having a standardized form of dealing with it. With community involvement and education is probably our biggest thing so far. And as in April 13th, the town hall, which we're proposing, will be a hurricane disaster preparedness. And at that meeting, we will have Mr. David McIntyre, who is the Deputy Director of Brunswick County EMS, and he's the current acting director also. And either Brian Chisholm, who's the Chief Deputy of the Brunswick County Sheriff's Department, or his representative will be giving a presentation. Let's see what else we've got going here. We've got what we referred to affectionately as the refrigerator list, which is almost complete. And it is a check down list that we hope everybody will put on their refrigerator. And then when the storm gets close, they'll take it off and they'll go check, 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 check to make sure that they are prepared for the storm. We are also looking at after disaster management to see what the community needs to do and how that should be managed. Again, we are hosting the town hall. We are giving away by raffle 3 Midland radios, weather radios. And for the record, these were obtained by private funds. They are not through the board. So our budget is 0. Just want that on the record before somebody says, what are you giving away? We have no budget requests. We have no changes. Are there any questions?
It's very impressive. This new committee has done a lot of work very quickly.
Well, hurricane season
It's upon us.
is upon us.
Yes, it is.
And it's not only the hurricanes, We have a nuclear plant up in Southport. We have a
Munitions.
major munitions dump in Southport. We have the tornadoes as of, 2 years ago in February came through about 10 miles south of us, air miles south of us, and did a lot of damage, as most of you are aware of. So it's not only the hurricanes, it's a lot of the things that you can't even think of right now, that the disaster preparedness pretty much fits them all. And one last commercial, if you all get a chance, go out to ready.gov. It's a U.S. government website, ready.gov. They have lists of things you need to do and suggestions for you. FEMA's put this together, and it's everything from if you've got sick kids in the family to you're going to be away to leaving lists of stuff for people who can contact you, and you can get buried in it real deep, but just pick and choose the things that are relevant to you. It's a good primer for the town hall that's coming up.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Well, that panel will be at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Well, the 13th.
The social committee?
Is there anyone here from the social committee? Well, I guess it's me. Carla Wisniewski is the chairperson for this, and obviously she's not here, so I will read it. Current ongoing projects. We usually meet the second Tuesday of the month at 11 o'clock. Activities, projects completed since last report. The last event was the trivia night and Captain John's seafood truck on Wednesday, March 8th. Over 50 meals were served and 32 participated in the trivia games led by Beth Baker. Team 6 was the first place winner and included Ann August, Donna Evans, Mundy Gallagher, Scott Reed, and Ruth Sundstrom. Mundy says they're available for autographs. It was a very fun evening and quite successful. A survey, which hopefully all of you replied to, was sent to members of the association to determine what kind of events our members would like to see at the committee host. We also wanted to learn the type of activity and number of children residing in the community who might participate in it. The results will be discussed at our next meeting. Activities projects planned to start within the next 6 months. The next event is the charcuterie sampling and wine tasting on Friday, April 14th, beginning at 6 p.m. The cost is $5 per person, BYOB, and your favorite bottle of wine with the description to share. The social committee will provide the charcuterie boards and chocolate desserts. The committee will be co-hosting the wiffle ball tournament with Mike Schiavone on Sunday, April 23rd at Mallard Park. A Cinco de Mayo celebration with a taco bar is planned for Friday, May 5th at the clubhouse. And the 2023 calendar of events is posted to the website calendar. There are no budget issues, and we have added a new member, Jonna Cook, who has been approved by the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Structures and grounds.
Friend who spends the winter relaxing in Florida, so he's not here. On an ongoing basis, Structures and Grounds just monitor stuff, putting the trash cans out, monitoring the street lights when they go out to contact BEMC, raising and lowering the flags at the gatehouse, refrigerator filters. Patrick Boyd and Dick Rio, in conjunction, I think, with Danny, have been doing a lot of work on the swales, which we need to get squared away before we can do anything with the roads. And that's an ongoing thing, I think. We're getting the stuff ready to go out. And Patrick also was kind enough to take the dead deer that got hung up on the fence in the water park. Tasted very good. Yeah, we're currently getting quotes for all the physical structures within the community for power washing that we'll present to the board for their approval or disapproval, whatever. Danny was very involved in getting the stop sign that was knocked down, replaced with the help of, John Champlin Instructions in the Ground. This is stuff that kind of pops up on a regular basis, and when it pops up, we take care of it.
Participated in that. Well, he got stop sign out of the road.
He's one of that
I said, don't put it back. I picked it up by myself and drug it into the boat storage. Yep. And, ongoing projects, we, to work with the board for physical structures. We've been speaking about, and I think this is going to pop up later on, pool house storage, a building near the pool house for storage, expanding the clubhouse. We're going to look at some other items that we may be able to do in-house, possibly the decking out there, but we haven't gotten that far. We're currently looking at putting a film on the gatehouse, so you can't see it anymore, and then put shelving in there. And that's something that hopefully we'll get some kind of decision shortly on the film, so you can't look in. And then we'll make a determination what kind of shelving to put in there. It could come out of the dumpsters with all the builders, and just put it up. We're still waiting for batteries for the defibrillator. There's been back order for months, if not years. There's 3 extra handicap spots that are going to get repainted over because they're not legal with the placard that says this is handicap. A couple little things that's going to cost $100. The spigot in the shower leaks. The switch in the ladies' bathroom doesn't have the cover on it. That's $50. We're going to put some hooks in the library. Those 3 items are going to cost $100. On the pool storage, the pool pump room, the door is rotten and the sweep is coming off. It's 4 feet. So Home Depot and Lowe's don't have it, so it's going to have to be from a commercial, somebody like IC Lee, that will have to get approval for the board to go ahead and do that. So basically, we're probably talking about $200 in expenses for housekeeping. And then the post where the garbage pails are is rotten, and that would be about $115. Again, pending the board approval. And a suggestion was made is when you're going off the new walkway from the deck to the gazebo, you can see the rim doors, and to cover those with ASIC like the new walkway the deck has. And that would be, I got a number, $220. We have a new toilet paper holder for the men's bathroom in the pool house, because that's broken. That's got to get installed. And we have a little bit of a second. Yeah, I think we're done. And we have no budget issues, just some approval for some minor expenses by the board to let us get those taken care of.
Thank you for all of the volunteerism in your committee. It's a cool thing, I believe, in the community, and it saves a lot of community money. We really appreciate all that. You do a great job too. Pardon?
You guys are cheap at the price.
There's fine sausage and beanie weenies coming their way.
The last committee is tree.
Okay, trees. Marty Goldman is the chairperson. She is not here. So what she did is she went around and did a drive-through of the whole entire neighborhood and looked to see what trees might be down, what need to be cleaned up, and what have you. She's come up with at least 12 notices, properties that she sent to Kim Thomas to have notices sent out to clean up their stuff. She's actually found more than 12. And this will be an ongoing thing every month. She's going to go around and she's going to check to see on the progress. Let Waccamaw know when additional notices need to be sent. There is a fine process in place if it's not cleaned up. The association can also take the stuff down and then fine the homeowner. Hopefully we never get to that. There are no projects planned, there are no budget issues, no reserve issues, and nobody else needs to be on the committee at this point.
Thank you. The next item of business is unfinished business. The first topic is reserves, and Dan's going to talk about that.
As you all know, we had the town hall meeting. The topic was the reserve, understanding it, what it was, and how it was financed. There's a process that the board has gone through in order to understand the requirements for 2023 as far as Oyster Harbour is concerned, and the reserve items in the reserve. The committee chairs, after attending the town hall meeting, they went back and looked at the reserves and looked at the line items pertaining to their topics, to their interests, their points of interest. And from there, they went to the FPC and said, these are the items that we anticipate we're going to need to spend or to look at for 2023. From that process, FPC came up with this form, and it's the 2023 potential maintenance required track items. And it lists everything that the committee suggested that they needed for 2023 and 2024. We had actually one more additional year just for planning purposes. From this document, then the FPC met with the board, and we scrubbed this document to see what we thought would be best for the community and for the reserve study and for you all as far as expenses are concerned. So we scrubbed this. We took a couple of items off of here that they wanted that we have postponed, and we noted that today earlier in our meeting. For what our mindset is, unless it has to be done, it's not going to be done. It's must do and nice to have. Nice to have is going to be kicked down the road for X amount of years. Right now, we're just funding and looking at items that must be done to keep Oyster Harbour working nicely and looking good. There was mentioned that the 2021 surplus of the 23,229 was deposited to the reserve this month. Now, the reason why it's a 2021 number and we're just getting it in 2023 is because we had the audit was a late audit in 2022. And we just found out in November what the surplus was for 2021. So it took us a couple of months then to get it over to the reserve. We will have an audit done in the June, July timeframe this year. Surplus hopefully will be identified at that time for 2022. And then we will be able to move those funds, those surplus funds, over to the reserve. CDs. Up until 2 months ago, we were looking at a 0.4% return on CDs for 12 months. That's all we had. That's all that was out there. 2 months ago, we found a CD for 4.75%, 12 months. We now have another CD we're going to be initiating this month, or rather April 1st, I guess, for 5.3% rate. Okay, so thank God for inflation. and banks going south. Yeah. Thank you, Silicon Valley Bank. I've already talked. Okay, number. Outside of the reserve, we're looking at operating items also. One thing we're looking at is we're reviewing our insurance policies and the cost for the insurance that we have now. with tremendous amount of input and help with Bill Puglisi. We're massaging our insurance policies. We're changing values. And the net is that we're going to be saving some premium dollars shortly when we renew this contract in July. So again, that's every meeting the board has, we're talking about how can we cut costs and expenses. We don't want blasted increases, 10% increase in dues every blasted year. We're trying to really see what we can do to reduce that percent. And we're just cutting where we can. And that's the best, that's the best we can do. That's the best we can do. Progress toward improving reserve funding levels is a standing agenda with the board, every board meeting. And operating also. We're looking at operating every line, every invoice coming in. We're challenging the invoice to make sure it's right. And with Danny's help, we're doing some good stuff with some of the invoices that are coming in. So we're really trying to cut as much as we can legally. In June, we're going to be having the budget meetings for 2024's budget. In June, I'll make the announcement. It'll be 2 Saturdays in a row, probably 10 a.m. We really want your input on what I want you to see what goes into the budget, the reasoning for the items on the budget. Come with your ideas of what we can do to cut expenses in the budget. Okay, we're not against anything that is logical and can cut the funds from funding. We don't want to spend any more money. That's it. That's what we gleaned out from the reserve and what we've been doing on a daily basis concerning the reserve and also operating expenses.
Is that document online, Dan?
The reserve is on.
The one that you.
Oh, this document here. Well, this hasn't been. This was scrubbed by us. Dave has not. I don't think scrubbed it further. But
We have a final document
that we can post on the website. Yes, yes, of course. Yeah,
Wet, ink's still wet on that one.
yeah, it smudges. Yeah.
I had mentioned in the president's report that we are really being aggressive with our people that are in the rears with their assessments, their dues. And we recently gotten a large payment. And we also had another lot that may either have been sold or it will become part of the HOA. We don't know yet. It was in the paper and it could be a couple of days when we'll learn, but that is another way that we're making money. We're going after the dues this year. The due date was February, at the end of February. As soon as we see somebody's not paid up, getting a letter, we're jumping on all of this to get our money on time so that we can invest it and get returns on it. So we're being very aggressive with that. We'll let you know when we hear about this one lot, whether it was sold or whether it will become part of the HOA. And at some point we would put it on the market. Thank you, Dan. The next item on the agenda is ponds and landscaping. And we're probably going to get a combination of me and Danny and Judy. However, we've gotten good reports from both of those committees. So I don't know how much more we can add to that. The riprap Jim mentioned, and it is something that may not have been done for maybe 8 or 10 years. I think we had put some riprap at Cardinal and Mallard several years ago. And the last one that hasn't been finished is Palmetto. It's got very steep banks.
and a lot of exposed liner. It's ugly. So that's almost finished. Danny and Judy, do you have anything on the mowing and removal of all those plants around the ponds? Yeah. Danny and I met with Matt from Total Lawn Care today. And as Lauren indicated, he plans to be done by the end of March with all of the landscaping around the ponds, getting rid of the wax myrtles, the dog funnel, and what have you. He's also going to put what he and Danny refer to as tar on the wax myrtle stumps so that they don't regrow, but the stumps will stay in there to prevent erosion of the pond banks. That's what we want. We don't want any erosion. If some of you have noticed around some of the ponds, they were cut rather drastically a week or so ago. We have addressed that with Matt, and it was a bit of a miscommunication with some of his staff. So they'll grow back, and in a month or two, hopefully they'll be in the place where the birds will enjoy them. The other wildlife will have the higher grass, what have you, in particular in the conservation area around Osprey Pond. Not sure what else we've got as far as
just so you know that, you know, we discussed this with everyone and put a memo out about it. The goal is to have a minimum of an 18-inch buffer with 8 inches of growth right around every pond. That's just to keep the healthiness of the pond areas where they're supposed to be. That does not mean where the water level is. That means where the existing pond started. So sometimes it will actually be wider than that. But we do not want any of those areas close. That was some of the miscommunication that happened. Plus, our goal is that any of what we classify as love grass, the clumpy big grass that you see growing, we don't want any of that touched at all. It may be trimmed by hand down the road, but we're just trying to preserve the banks and the erosion problem moving forward. And I will echo, you talked about the riprap being, the liner being unsightly. I totally agree. But also understand that was not our main reason for doing it. That's the added benefit.
Yeah.
It's the protection of the liner. The liner's got to be covered so that ultraviolet rays don't deteriorate the edge of the ponds.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that in my report, but
No worries.
UV protection and second from the elements.
Right. Okay, moving along. Danny, would you speak about the pool repairs and opening day?
Yes. I'm going to start where we were in our questions with all the pool. We had a lot to deal with the pool, and I just want to get everybody updated of all the things that have happened. Donna mentioned the fact that we have diligently worked with accepting new quotes and working with our pool contractor to make sure that we're getting the best for the community we can get. You may have not noticed the level of wood duck pond kind of rose a few weeks ago. It rose because it was 50,000 gallons of water out of our pool that was neutralized and put into wood duck so we could pump the pool out. We have kind of gotten a new schedule because of this. We've learned a lot about the water and the water quality and the things that chemicals do and what we can do to save money moving forward. And one of those is actually purging and changing the water. As it turned out, we were able to save money by doing that. Plus, we have to, and this new one's on 5 years. We hadn't talked about it, but I did get a report today
The drain.
on our BGB. Yeah. On the grates, the drains that cover the large pool and the wade pool have to be changed minimum of every 5 years. And our time was here. So instead of hiring a diver, we actually went back and did our history through the community, found out that it was a little past time for us to change the water out. And just so you know, the benefits of that, with all the things that happen with people going into a pool, that's enough said. But it also talks about the chemistry that it takes to keep the water at the levels it's supposed to. The older the water is in the pool, the more residual buildup that happens in the pool, and the more the chemical cost is in the process of doing that. They have to fight it harder to keep the chemical levels right. So with that all those in conversation with the board made the move to pump the pool out. We were fortunate enough that, we had an old vendor of ours that stepped up and helped us through the county. And instead of us having to pay $2,500 for the replacement of the water, as soon as I deliver all of it, we are going to have less than $500 in the total replacement of the water. And it's done. I got confirmation today that we will be opening on schedule. We're going to a year-round permit moving forward. It will save us a lot of worries about schedule and them getting the inspectors in on an earlier schedule. We will be opening on Good Friday from now on. We've decided that, you know, it may be cold. If it is, you can tell, go in anyway, enjoy it. If it's cold, you don't have to stay long. But we discussed it on the board, and we've heard the community. So many people end up with family in, and we do get extremely warm weather occasionally. And so because of that, it really doesn't cost us any extra. All the pumps and the conditioning is happening right now. So we've decided to move the schedule up about 2 weeks and start opening the pool earlier. It will still close. I think our new discussion is Columbus Day.
Columbus Day every year.
Every year. So you can mark your calendar. It's going to be open. It's going to be closed unless somebody changes something that we don't know about. But as of today, all our permits are in place. Our opening time is scheduled. You'll see cleaning going on around the pool deck and the furniture, and we're in good shape. I will mention we did have a report to us about, and don't confuse this, black algae. Don't be confused with black mold, but it was noticed that it was starting to build on the sidewalls of the pool. And so we went ahead and did that as well. Just aware of the number, we removed and replaced the grates, replaced the water, treated the black algae, treated the water for all the things that we did for $1,000 less than the original bid to just have a diver in and change the grates. So we're trying to be good stewards of all of our money. Okay. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yes.
I mentioned earlier the due date for assessments has been February, the end of February every year. Recently, for many, many, many years, it was January 31st. And the board made a decision that we want to go back to the old schedule. You'll be getting your assessment letter in December. You can start to make your payment then. You have until the end of January before you will be considered past due. So that's just an early bulletin about that. Once you see that letter in December, you'll be reminded that we told you now, but that is to try to get our HOA money in earlier and get the money into the reserves and put things into accounts and get good money. We're trying to be good stewards of our money. The next item under unfinished business is a fishing policy. And Danny is going to speak to that.
We have, I'm going to read this to you, and I want you to know that as a community and this board, we have discussed every option we could possibly think of. Our goal was to do what we could do to answer questions throughout the community the best we could. When I read this to you, you'll understand that we know we're not going to always make everyone happy, but we're doing our best. And so the goal and the reason for looking at fishing was not just to open a blanket policy back. We did a lot of time personally going to properties, walking ponds, going through and talking about all the situations, trying to just make things, creating situations that we hope would never happen, but we talked about them. So when I read this to you, I want you to know this was heart and soul. We put a lot of time and effort in this. And I hope you'll be pleased with what we decided to do. So I'm going to read the new policy to you. One of the more sensitive issues facing our community in recent times has been fishing in our ponds. It had pitted neighbor against neighbor, and no matter which side of the decision you support, it will never truly be decided with merely a thumbs up or a thumbs down approach. As a new board of directors, we decided to relook at this issue. Our discussions considered the impact on our ponds relative to frequent foot traffic, aging condition of our liners, erosion caused from natural or man-made impacts like mowing and maintenance, and of course, environmental concerns identified when gaining conservation protection by government permit in some areas. But we have also heard the voices of our property owners and youth of our community who enjoy fishing. We have done our best to balance board of director responsibilities as established in our covenants, conditions and restrictions of North Carolina, the state, statutes, and advice in the North Carolina Natural Resource Office with a common sense approach to this issue. After much deliberation and on-site visits, we have decided to move forward with a limited fishing in 2 ponds for now, understanding we continue to address the critically needed landscaping, erosion, and liner degradation in some ponds, problems in all ponds. Effective May 1st, 2023, our new policy for fishing is, number 1, fishing will be permitted, but only in clearly delineated areas of 2 ponds, eagle and herring. They neither one have liners. Area of access and fishing will be clearly marked and done so to prevent encroachment on state protected conservation areas, the wetlands, and private properties. All parking to access these areas will be on the paved roads. Access to Heron will be in one location, the pathway entrance on Heron Road. Hours of fishing are from 8 o'clock a.m. to 6 p.m. Number 2, non-adherence to the above policy will result in notices of violations and all that process entails, which may include fines and or loss of select or all amenity privileges. The board of directors is in concert with the Waccamaw Management LLC with monitor compliance with the decision and the condition of each of the ponds in our community going forward. It is our hope that this decision will be accepted, implemented, and complied with by all in the community. It is our expectation that everyone does their part to ensure these amenities are enjoyed and used accordingly as they belong to the Oyster Harbour property owners. Anyone observing non-adherence to the policy is requested to send an email detailing the incident to Waccamaw Management at our new she is our new manager. Her name is Kimberly Burgos. Her email address will be on this policy, and that is who you would, anytime you would have any violation or any concern of something that you feel was wrong, will go to Waccamaw. Okay.
And we'll take questions or have a discussion about this at the end of our meeting. Danny mentioned our new manager. Under new business, the next item of business is our new business. And the first item is the Waccamaw Community Manager. Brenda Register has resigned from Waccamaw. She had 3 communities and she resigned from the company, and all 3 of those communities now have a new manager, and her name is Kimberly Burgos, Burgos, and her email is kimberlyb@waccamawmanagement.com. And she's been with Waccamaw a year and a half or 2 years. She has gone up the ranks. She's had all of the different jobs in the HOAs. There's community service and all the way up to manager. So she knows all the ropes. She seems very nice. We met her about a week ago, I think it was. She stayed here with us through one of our marathon meetings. And she will be doing what managers normally do, the insurance, contracts, any kind of
financing issues, budgeting, and violations. And she also will be the manager running through the community twice a month on her compliance runs. And Kimberly Thomas is still with us as the assistant manager. And we have someone named Trish that none of us have done any business with, who was a sort of a customer support. So that's our little team that's going to be taking care of us. I mentioned in the president's report about the new HOA auditor. We've been using Ernie and Company for as long as I've been here. And every year, huge increase in the cost. And we used to deal with Oliver, the younger, and more recently, we've been dealing with his father. And we had a little problem the last year or so. And the costs kept rising. So we decided we need to go out there and see if this is a good deal. It seems to cost an awful lot. So Wakama helped us with some competing companies that they said are very good. And we decided to go with, and I can't say this word.
Broenco.
Say it.
Broenco.
Broenco and Trick. And they're already, we approved that contract. They already have some of our information. And through this change in contract, we're going to save about $11,000. So we think this is a good deal, and we're hoping that this works. The last 2 years, we've had a little more complicated tax return because we've sold some lots. We've had some capital gain to deal with. But it was getting ridiculous what we had to pay with the old company, which was, you know, a real wonderful company, but at some point you got to say enough. So we thank them, and they're gone, and we hope to do well with this new company. I don't think there's anything else under new business. Does anybody have anything that we propped up? Nope.
Good.
So now we have come to the point where members may make comments and ask questions. Please try to hold this to 3 minutes. And we're not going to be traffic cops too hard.
Okay, you get 15.
And Bert, any company, you can help us if you have anybody online. We don't want to. Jim?
Yeah.
Stand up.
You gotta pay the price.
Bargain for all this. They requested to see you twice tonight.
Oh, God, I feel sorry for them. When is the new fishing policy going to be implemented? Did you mention that?
May
May 1st.
May 1st.
Thank you.
Still some things to do, some signs to put up, and but that's our goal.
Is beware of alligators going to be posted?
Lauren, would you come to the podium, please?
Zoom folks.
Is the sign beware of alligators going to be posted at these ponds where they're going to be fishing? Because there have been alligators spotted in Heron recently. I would hate for a child to be down there.
There, the signs that have been posted there for a couple of years,
Okay.
you say beware of alligators.
Yeah, just make sure it's in the fishing area, so there's no mistake, and fish at your own risk.
All the signage that's there currently is actually going to be moved to the entrance to the fishing area,
Mhm.
and they will still read beware of alligators. Yes.
Okay, good.
Thanks. Jack?
We'll get you.
I would just like to compliment the board. I heard a lot of good things today, especially when it comes to the finances. I've seen the board's doing a lot of good things as far as looking at revenues and seeing where we can save money instead of raising the dues every year. So kudos to you guys. I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
I do have a question about the monitoring the boat, the trailers that come into the boat ramp. How is that gonna be monitored? How is that gonna be policed? Is that gonna be a situation such as we have with the stop signs that nobody follows, that nobody really follows? I mean, how is that gonna be monitored?
I think I can
As a
address that.
liaison for boats and docks.
We knew we had to start somewhere. And so our plans now is not to put someone out with a billy club on the ramp. But in all seriousness, it's gonna be a community effort. We have a lot of committee members that are constantly monitoring and looking through the water park and on the ramp. If someone were to back in to our ramp and you see it, don't confront them. But if they don't have a blue sticker, and I wished I had one, Rob, you by chance got any with you, do you? There will, every sticker that's given out to a registered boater that is actually registered to use our ramp is going to be a blue sticker. It's 2x3, so it's very visual. It's very bold. It's blue and white. There are black numbers on every sticker to identify who that boat belongs to. So all I would ask you to do is if you see someone using the ramp and they do not have a sticker applied to their trailer because that's where it's supposed to go, take a picture of their license plate. Keep your cameras with you at all times. And help us. Don't confront them. Don't ask them if they belong. But I'll promise you that we're gonna get it to the place where the money and the amenities that this community has spent, we feel like we need to be accountable for it. So getting that boat ramp under control with that, plus the fact that we really needed to know the numbers of what we've got that's using the boat ramp. Out of 471 property owners, do we have 400 boats coming down that ramp, or do we have 100 boats coming down that ramp? So that's the reason for the registration, and it's also to be able to police who's actually coming in. The only thing that would change that, Jack, would be the fact that if it was a visitor, then they have to have a visitor's permit in their window. Absolutely.
Barry?
There. You're next, Bob.
Thank you, Barry August. I'm a roving reporter with pictures and all that. And the unelected mayor of Oyster Harbour. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank all the committees. I don't think this community's come together. I've only been here for 6 years, so I don't know the whole history of the community, but the committees seem to be really, really dedicated and moving forward the board. I don't think that the 6 years I've been here, the 6 boards, I don't think people understand how many hours and dedication that the boards have put in, but especially this one. When you hear the amount of money that's been saved on just auditors, because nobody bothered to ask, or not that they didn't bother, but they didn't put in the dedication, the time, and the hours. So I want to thank you very much. Now, saying that, for 6 years, I get up and say, you have 2 lots in foreclosure right now, $36,000. I begged every board that's been here, that the people in this community that live here should get first shot before you put it with a real estate agent. Not to say anything bad about real estate agents, Jim, love you like a brother. A notice should go out internally with the people that own lots and houses in the community to get a first shot at buying that piece of property. I resent the fact that we don't. Okay, moving on. I live on the berm over here. I live on Bluefin Terrace. My property values have been affected to the point where my house is probably worth 25% less than it was 2 years ago before Jim Hewitt started this development over here. He has 57 acres. He plans, if you went to the zoning board meetings, which a lot of us did,
He plans 250 homes, not 57 acres, with roads, ponds, sewage treatment plants and everything else. There's 6 or 7 houses per acre. They're low-income houses. There's no guarantee they're not going to be trailers. This community's not taking it seriously. We need to hire a lawyer and go after this guy. Just because the zoning boards have approved it doesn't mean that, okay, let him keep going forward. This guy's probably, you look at what he's putting in right there right now with the pipes and I live on a berm. He works from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night every day. He's got at least $2 million already, according to the code enforcement, already put into that property. My values have gone down. Everybody sitting in this room, because you're not taking it seriously, you let this guy go forward and keep developing that. Boone's Neck Road is the only road to get to Windy Point, to get to Owl Gate. That's it. And you let this guy keep going forward, you guys are going to sink with me. Thank you very much.
That the past 2 years, when Vince was on the board with us, we did put something out and tell the community, this is going to go to a realtor and this is the estimated cost that we are going to put it out at. We are not a realtor, so we don't sell directly to one of our owners. And we do want a lot of money because we want it to, for our reserves.
But if the Jim wants to, who lives in this community, like Jim wants to get permission to sell it in this community, that's what I'm saying. The people in this community should have first shot at that life, whether you put it with a realtor like Jim, who lives here, or me directly. Why pay commission? Why don't you sell it to me or one of these other people sitting in here and pay nothing?
Well, we've gotten, and what was the other thing I was going to say?
Are you talking about community? Property next door community and property values developer was, I can respond to that.
Go ahead.
That developer, if you're okay.
Yeah.
Just so you know, and I know all of us are concerned
Yeah.
about what's happened with the development. There's a number of us that went to the board of directors and when they were applying for their permit and, you know, the owners didn't show up, they had their engineering firm show up for them. But I will assure you that we have seen the restrictions and covenants of that neighborhood, and they do exist. And please don't misunderstand what I'm getting ready to say, because a home's a home. So I'm not going whether it's a trailer or whether it's the Taj Mahal. But I know that we've all got values in what we've put, and we like to see like kind houses to appreciate our property, not depreciate. But there are minimum restrictions on that property. They have to be stick-built homes, and they have to be a minimums. I'm sorry. There is no minimum required square footage. There's a maximum, and that maximum is 1,800 square foot on one level. And that's because of the size of the lots. And you're talking about 7 lots on 1 acre. That's why. But I think all of us can understand that if it's a stick-built home and that's in their restrictions and covenants, that at least we've got some protection for the type of home that's going to be built.
And it's going to be an HOA.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It's like throughout the community, the county now, you see any place where there were 10 trees, now there's 100 houses. They're all small, kind of cute, maybe not, or they're tall condos or something. And that's what this will be. This is what the planning office sends to the planning board, and they say, give me more, because there's income here, there's revenue. They think that we are going to have a whole lot of people here in the next 10 or 20 years. So there's no way to fight it with an attorney. It is what it is. It's what the county is doing, and it's everywhere.
It's already been approved. So there's, I mean, because it was approved, we gave our best effort. But I want to just share something that I think all of us can get on board with. Sadly, Brunswick County is, and I don't mean this in this side, but it's the 4th fastest growing county in the United States. It's the number one growing county in North Carolina. With that being said, we also have county commissioners and representation currently that are saying no to nothing. They are revenue driven. And I'll just use an analogy of something that just happened to me, and I missed the window of 30 days. If you go do a water hookup in this county, does anyone have any idea what it costs just to do a meter tap? $4,000.
If you do sewer and water, it's roughly $13,000 based on 3 bedroom house.
And it was originally $1,000. And like I said, I missed that $3,000 opportunity by 30 days. But that alone, and the question was asked by one of the county commissioners, why? Why are you doing that? And the answer that they got was because Leland's doing it. If Leland can get that kind of revenue, why shouldn't we? So that's part of what we're up against. It doesn't make us all feel any better, but it is part of the circumstances we're having to deal with. And I would just challenge our community, because I heard the statement just last week where a guy looked up and he said, if you've got one person at a meeting, that at minimum, that represents 8 votes. So think about that when it gets time to feel how you are. There's only one way in this society and the world we live in that you can make a difference, and that's to make a change.
Bob? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Robert he's had his.
Good, Bob. Bob Wilson.
On one thing, a few things that said here, and then ask the board for its consideration on something when they go to executive session. In terms of the developments that are coming in next to us and down the road from there and down the road from there and down the road from there, being on the committee, I have seen some of the plans, the evacuation plans, the proposed county ordinances, and so on. And I think it is a lot worse than most of us recognize and realize. There are only 4 shelters in Brunswick County, and for the most part, they are reserved for people with specialized medical needs. If you just giving you some highlights of some of the stuff that we've learned. If you don't leave 3 days before a hurricane, you're not getting out, period. And we are at a peninsula here. And there is basically one road in and out. And that road has a tendency, when you get down to Oxpen and related areas, floods. When the big storm hits, the sheriff's office has informed us, and I think you're going to find on April 13th that the county is going to inform you that we are short of some sort of true emergency, medical emergency. We're pretty much on our own. So those are just things that have come out in terms of meetings we've had with county officials and sheriff's department and so on. So it's just FYI that if this is a problem next door now, just give it a year or 2. Secondly, in the point of clarification, you mentioned a form for reporting violators for fishing. And we are working on a general incident form on the committee. So if the board would be kind enough to tell us whether our general incident should be all incidents where they're checked off and a standardized form for that, or if other areas within the organization are going to have their own incident forms, we'd appreciate it. And just let us consider it an executive session and let us know.
We spoke about that.
We did. I'm on the hook for it.
All right, well, it caught my ears.
I figured it would. Yeah. So that draft you guys are working on, bringing it back and
You know, you start talking about safety and preparedness, details make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Appreciate it. But please please can't plan to come on the 13th, and then you're gonna hear some good stuff, and I think you're gonna hear some things that shock you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
I can make a comment too, with respect out in the audience. When Donna talked in the president's message about the document for the ABC POA and what they're doing with regard to looking at the county documents, she referenced to. Those planning documents are the driving factors behind how the planning boards are making their decisions, and they're very dated. So these groups of people that are actually out there working with these county representatives are trying to take sections of those documents and update them. It's been a while since they've had any attention at all. So they're using probably dated documents, go figure, to make their decisions as far as the densities and the other things related to the development. So the work that the ABC POA folks and those people are doing, at least bringing back to us what the information is. But if they're aggressive about this, that's where we can also make a difference in addition to at the voting ballot box. So I'll throw that out there.
Right. And your comment about shelters, the new land use plan that was just approved by the planning office. It's online somewhere. I can go look. I was interested in your comment about shelters. That may or may not have been part of the recommendation. And I'm going to look at that. I'll give you the website in case you want to look at that and see what land use plans are. I think it's Brunswick 2040 or something. So it's not going to be tomorrow, but they've asked the public for lots of input, and I'll check on that and give you the link.
Yeah, got that, and currently there are 4 in the county.
Are they schools pretty much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are, because of limited resources, they are at this point limited to certified individuals that are special needs, medical, and
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, Bob.
Go ahead and repeat that one thing.
Brian had his hand up.
This is just real quick.
Just so we know,
This isn't really a question.
Ryan and Bob and Glenn.
This really isn't a question, it's kind of a statement as far as, after Barry got up and talked about what he was talking about, something came to mind as far as maybe the board or maybe safety and preparedness could look at, what we can control. We can't control that. We can't control, unfortunately, what's going on with the new neighborhood. But for those who live on Barry's Road out here, has there been a thought as far as, I know originally Barry had mentioned the fence on the berm, but are those residents allowed to put, not a fence, but vegetation or something additional that they can go and at least, if you ride down that road now, especially in the wintertime, it's like there's really nothing between Barry's house and that property. So, and yours too. And the further you go down, right past your house, it's literally, it's like you can see everything. You can see Dolphin Forest from Barry's house, unfortunately. But is that something that could be combined with safety and preparedness? Because, we get 250 houses over there, there's gonna be kids in those houses. Do you not think people are gonna be, that kids aren't gonna be coming across those berms into our backyards and.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me interrupting. The point of it is I can put electrified barbed wire fence across my property. But so what? I've got 4 empty lots on both sides of me. The berm is ours. The entire berm is ours. In other words, you go over the berm and the foot on James Hewitt's property is our property. He can't develop 30 feet from the foot of our berm unless the community put up a fence from Lip to up to Lot Street. It doesn't do any good. It's like the southern border in the United States, unless you close it all. Doesn't matter.
We got loads of containers. Shipping containers coming in.
I got shotguns.
Can I actually address that?
Yeah, that was.
Just quickly. that's been discussed. In fact, it was in the county meeting about asking them to put red tips, something that would be a vegetation barrier. The one thing that I will say that Oyster Harbour did 100% correct is that berm, there's probably more than 2 feet on Hewitt. There's probably more like 7 or 8. And he's got to be 7 or 8. He's got to be 7 feet from your back property line before they can, and I'm just talking about where they are, if they can do anything, because that's what the county requires them to do. So the setback is 7 feet. I wished it was 30 feet, but it's not.
But there is a buffer. When we went to the meeting, there's a buffer from our firm, a berm 30 feet into that property, that's buffer, and that we were asking them, would they put a fence up where that buffer, from 30 feet from our berm? They said they would not put a fence up, but that is, that's a variance or whatever. They cannot do anything from 30 feet from our berm out toward their property. Isn't that right?
It was a vegetative buffer.
Right.
And this property is changing hands. Last spring, it was sold. It's no longer Hewitt.
That's correct.
It's either Smith and Jones or Jones and Smith.
Smith and Jones, they're out of Winterville, North Carolina.
Yeah. And so maybe they're doing the infrastructure. There might be 1 or 2 more, and then all of a sudden there'll be some housing company. At some point, this board will get the vibes, and we can approach the developer that we could ask for something, but minimally they have to meet that barrier, vegetative barrier requirement. And we'll keep an eye on that.
All I wanted to know is like if it's an individual homeowner like Barry, I know in our covenants, it states that we can't put trees to do all our property, but in their sake, can they on their own, and Barry or whoever lives over there wants to put whatever they want to back there to make some type of natural shield?
This was Brian Vincent's question was, could a property owner that's bordering on the berm actually go ahead and plant vegetation on their own to start their own privacy area between the new development? Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I would tell you that at this point, we'll certainly discuss it.
We will. We would. And I would,
Well,
even if it's an ARC issue, we can grant variances. Absolutely. Or consider them. So.
and the property owner owns the berm.
That is correct.
That berm is owned by every property owner that in Oyster Harbor. You own your berm. And
Planted for 6 years.
Okay.
Vincent can be-
You'll get a letter.
Property owners can put
I call the planning office every once in a while. And I'm still assured it's going to be a couple of years. But we'll keep calling and getting information. And it's on our minds.
Very much so, because I get out and walk the boundaries behind the 2 lots that I have. Well, some of them are that distance, and others, you look down where they put up silk fence, they're real close to the markers. So.
Did you put a foxhole?
No, but I put a concertina wire, some claymores, they come across that thing.
Bob Swift,
What?
do you have a question?
Oh, a couple of quick comments. One, they brought up the policing the boat ramp. My thought is we develop some kind of short letter. And if we find a violator, and we'll get you guys to approve it, to say we now require this, please contact Boats and Docks, will issue a sticker, and if you do it again, we're gonna have you towed. And that'd be a way to get people to contact us, because if they keep coming back and we've got their license number, they don't care what we think. But if we give them notice and they don't contact us and they do it again, let's get rid of them.
One thing that I will tell you that we had more recently is that we can disable the entry card for anyone for that particular. We thought that we could, we thought that we thought originally that we would not be able to do that, but we can. So if that property owner does not respond, the letter is absolutely that. I mean, we have protocol to follow.
We do. And if you see an incident and you might know when they come in or out, use their card, and maybe you don't know who they are, maybe they got an old card or something, make note of the time.
The time, maybe.
Yep.
Okay. My second thing, we're talking about the, assessment for next year. This year, when I paid my assessment, I was gonna do it online. And they wanted like $70 for me to pay it. Can somebody look into that and tell Waccamaw, are you nuts?
Question in our meeting a few weeks ago down there. And we will ask it again because, no, it was not that much because I heard the same thing.
It was
So I
like
asked the
70 some
question.
dollars to pay it electronically.
And I was told that there was only a minimal fee. So- So
I sent him a damn check.
Yeah, we
I
can
will,
check.
I will assure you. that
I mean,
we-
that's one of the 2 checks I write a year. I sent them one.
They actually went and got the lady that handles the processing and brought her into the room. And I asked her, are our property owners getting charged? I thought it was 50, but you're telling me it was 70.
I'll look it up and I'll send it to you guys, but I think pretty sure.
We
it was
will
70
revisit
bucks.
it. I'll assure you.
Yeah, and
Can you
finally,
believe that?
I know we all got off to a rough start and, it's been a process, but, we appreciate everything you guys do. I drive coming to and from work. I see your cars here constantly. I know you're working hard. Even when we yell at you, we do appreciate what you do and we appreciate you listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barb?
Hi, I'm Barb Puglisi. Just a comment on what Bob just said about the payment. 2 years ago, when I went to do it online, because that's the way I do everything, I too was shocked at the amount they wanted to process that payment. And I go, no way. But this year when I went on, I realized there is a draft from your bank option. I think it was $3, I don't remember that amount, but I said, that I'll do. Because I don't write checks usually anymore, and it was reasonable, and I know they get a service fee generally for something, but you know, I too like to use my credit card because I get points on it, but I'm not gonna pay 50 or 30 or, well, not even 30, it was probably like 50 or 70 or whatever it was, dollars. I'm not gonna do that for the points. So, but I was able to have it drafted from the bank for a minimal charge. So just so you know.
But we will make sure we ask the question about whether it's a
Yeah,
debit card. or
one
a
way
credit card
it
as
was,
well.
it was crazy for the amount that they wanted. And one way was a reasonable way.
Good, okay, thank you.
Glenn? What kind of noise this is?
Glenn Moore.
You're good, right?
I'm good right there? Okay. I too just want to give some accolades to the board. I see your cars here too, and I know you guys are working hard, and, I think it's an awesome thing that you guys came together and, decided to open fishing on some of the ponds. Because the masses wanted it and a select few didn't, and I think that's a really good step forward. One of the things I wanted to say is, these kids are gonna start going to the ponds, and there's 2 ways into each of them, one on each end, well, actually, each end of the ponds. There's one on Eagle Crest and one on Heron for Heron.
Yeah, only one on Harbour.
There's 2. There's one
Yeah.
But
by.
there's only one that's gonna be for
That's going
fishing.
To have fishing, one end.
Okay, so so you can only fish at one end, you can't walk around the pond?
That's correct. There'll be signs up, as Danny said, there will be signs indicating you must fish between.
Fish in this
the
area?
signs.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Okay, that wasn't, I did not get that during
Well,
that
specifically
conversation, so.
designated spots, I think is how it was phrased, and the signs will say, no fishing beyond this point or something.
Okay.
to that effect.
Okay, be that as it may, it's a step forward. How many, non-liner ponds are there? 3. So are we working on Osprey as well?
We're evaluating that. We're working with wildlife
Okay,
to speak about that.
okay.
Because there is an area of wetlands that is a great.
That back part there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
So, they're, probably gonna meet with us in, what did I say? April or May.
Okay.
And discuss, can we have a conservation barrier, something to keep fishermen and the wildlife separated or something, so that's something that we're looking into.
okay, very good.
Yeah, it's a bird biologist.
Okay,
So it's something that we want to look into first before we make a decision.
okay, very good.
And I want to say something else if I can while you're
Sure,
talking about
sure.
that. We've also engaged wildlife. And our reason for doing that is we want to educate our youth
Absolutely.
and the community. And wildlife is coming to do a presentation for the community as well about fishing.
That's great.
Leading up to that, I'd like to see, we don't want, if kids are gonna be going to these ponds fishing, we don't see bikes dumped in the road. Let's not set them up for failure. Let's get some bike racks out.
Working on it.
Okay, I'm just, I mentioned it before, I just want to make sure, I don't want,
Thank
these kids are important. And I want to make sure, like I said, we can set them up for success.
Yep, that has been
And,
brought up and
okay.
we're working on it.
All right, and also, this has nothing to do with that, but, I see a safety issue on the docks. There's no throw rings. Some type of life-saving device. None of the docks, none of the boat ramp. We got currents ripping down, you got kids out there.
Yeah.
I just think that it would behoove us as being on the safety and preparedness that we get some life rings out there, some type of life-saving device. That if a kid or someone doesn't know how to swim goes in that water, we can retrieve them.
Yeah,
Best effort.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
Has the ladder been replaced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
God
that's
forbid
in
somebody
effect.
would fall in and they could come out, therefore while that was not connected or something.
Yeah.
And I'm ashamed to tell you that I don't know, is that on all three docks?
That's,
Kayak launches as
both
well,
kayak.
there's nothing?
Nothing.
So how long is that gonna last out there? About one day?
It's gonna, yeah.
Walks
Somebody's
off.
gonna walk off with it.
It's Bruce Baker, he went to the Bahamas, he did it, took them with him.
You?
Soon as, yes, come on.
Several times I've asked, our covenants are restricted as where we can charge money. But the ARC fee charge for you to come in and build a house, not the bonds, to make sure you're in compliance with the road, but your application fee, it could be whatever the ARC wants to charge. If Leland can charge $13,000 to hook up to the sewers, so our community here is paying $13,000, we should be charging more. That's just found money. It's not give back. So, how much is it?
He left you.
Yeah, he's gone.
The utilities decide here down with the county.
Yeah, but Leland's charging more, so we're now they're charging more here. That's why they do it. But I think it's $2,500 is the application fee,
I think it is.
$3,500. 4,000.
Why do we want to punish you people?
Well, but I was gonna say, these are property owners.
Didn't Mike say that it's
4,500.
4,500.
I think
No,
Mike-
he's talking about the bond.
That was the road. bond.
Correct.
And those bonds are refundable. So if the builder doesn't damage the road,
Yeah,
builds the house in compliance, he's getting that $4,500 back.
we can't undo that unless we change our governing documents.
So, no, yeah, that's fine. But the application fee, which I think for me was $500, and I think it's $1,500, that's keeper money that Oyster Harbour gets to keep. And it can be whatever the art says.
Yeah.
Great.
I'll assure you, we'll take it under consideration and look into it.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna comment, I would have suggested you there was doing on. Nah. Well, know a few of you, I'm her husband. I go back and forth between Virginia and here because we've got a home up there I'm trying to sell. So I'm just gonna introduce myself. Royce.
Hey, Rose.
Royce, like Rolls Royce.
Voice.
Thanks for that.
Anyone else have a comment, question?
Wow, Bob, you've used them all up.
No.
Quick one. Okay, we've got a zillion houses going here. Everybody knows it. Some of the last couple have been finished. The swales look pretty crappy and they haven't been fixed. Or is that gonna be addressed to make them fix them?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay,
They're beginning to be fixed
Okay.
as they go for final inspection.
okay. Well, because one of them, I know somebody's living in the house already and it's across the street. You know which ones, so, okay.
Did you have
No
anybody?
questions from her.
Okay.
Okay,
We put everybody to sleep over there.
Okay.
all right.
Okay, the open session of the meeting is now, I'm sorry.
Didn't y'all hear the buzzer?
I just wanted to ask about the ARCP, and I think it was kind of what Bill was talking about. I think it's 1,500, unless it hasn't been updated online. But had we looked into where that 1,500 is going? Because the last I heard, we were paying 750 to an architect to just look at it and say, this meets a set of guidelines that are already there, and the other 750 to walk them on. Or we didn't really know what that 750, like how they were using that.
I can assure you that this board has worked diligently,
And I know you, and I do want to say thank you too, because I see a lot of
but
great things. happening.
specifically on that question. And the answer is, we do know where every dime is going and we're chasing it very hard.
Okay.
We're very appreciative of everyone who brought that up, has asked those questions. It brought some good things for us to do, and we are working on it. Even to the place that we tried to identify the architectural review to see if we could get some of that money back. And he shared, but that money is pretty much set.
Yeah.
That's what they're charging across the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Nothing was wrong.
Okay, this concludes the open session. Is there a motion from the board to move to executive session?
I make a motion to move to executive session.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?